All right, everyone, welcome back to the Believe in Bengals post-draft show on Bally Sports Ohio. I'm Solomon Wilcots, and right now we want to welcome in a very special guest, Hall of Fame offensive tackle Anthony Munoz. Spent 13 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals. Anthony, how you doing today?
I'm good. Great, Zolly. And you got to mention, part of that time was with the SWAT team, which you were part of that. So I just wish I could move and groove like you guys did. But I just sat there and admired the way you guys move. But
are you kidding me?
It's great to be with you. It's great to be with you.
Oh, it's great to be with you also, man. You are always the guy who had the best feet I've ever seen on a big man, the most athletic big guy I think I've ever seen. And that's why I wanted to talk to you today about the Cincinnati Bengals and their 2022 draft class, because they went all in on the defense this year, Anthony. They had taken an offensive player each of the last 5 years with their first round pick. They went heavy in free agency on the offense. And so I just want to get your thoughts on the overall theme and your thoughts on this year's draft class for the Bengals.
Yeah, Sully, first of all, to the feet. When you have two older brothers and you're a big kid, you have to move quickly because they abuse you, and it's like, if I didn't have the quick feet and moved away as a big kid, man, I was doomed. I was doomed. But, Sully, the exciting thing for me is I looked at this draft, and you're right, man, they went defense, they went speed, is what the Bengals did early on in the free agency. Mm-hmm. Man, they knew they had a weakness, and let's go get 3 linemen. We lose a tight end. Let's go get a couple tight ends. And then we can, some pretty good linemen to boot. And then we can address some of the, the depth and some of the needs we have. And of course, as a former offensive lineman, I was glad to see they threw in a lineman in there. But, look at the secondary guys, Hill and Taylor Britt. I mean, those guys are talented. And, they go down and get Anderson from Toledo. Yeah. So it's obvious where they wanted to get some depth and some speed and some really good players. Yeah. And they get an edge rusher, but that's the thing that I think when you're in a position you want, they always say, well, I want to take the best players. But again, I can't emphasize enough. The thing that impressed me is okay, Joe B's getting hit too much, so we got to go get some good linemen, some excellent linemen. They did that. Now let's go after some other position guys, and so that was impressive to me. Their whole process, and Zach has talked about the process the last 3 years. And it continues to get put in place. Exact free agency, draft, and we're addressing some needs, and they got them.
The 5 guys that they drafted on defense, they all are multi-positional players. They all can play more than just one position. So versatility was clearly on Duke Tobin's mind and the Cincinnati Bengals when they went looking for players in this year's draft. And even with Cordell Volson, the 4th round pick from North Dakota State, Anthony, he played for 3 seasons at right tackle and left tackle while he was in college. They drafted him to play guard. He's 6'6", 311 pounds. He's big, he's tall, but he's athletic and he's nasty. At least that's what I'm hearing. I want to get your thoughts about just that versatility and, more importantly, the transition of going from tackle to guard in the NFL and what's required there.
Well, first of all, so I think it's great when a guy has played both, because I know a lot of times you come in as a young guy and you want to play. So if it's during camp, during practice, you're moving from side to side, and sometimes it might not be as easy moving from side to side. People say, well, you're right side, take the right steps, then you move and just flip-flop it. No, it's not that easy. But the fact that, Volson has literally played both sides, that's going to be very helpful to him. Mm-hmm. And then because he has that versatility, I think it'll be, it's not going to be easy, but it'll be somewhat easier for him to move inside. And you mentioned a word there at the end when you were talking about him. You said the big N word, nasty. And I love that. I love offensive linemen that, don't care about making friends until the off season. That's what I tell young guys. You're not there to make friends during those defensive players should not like you at all during the game. But, after they respect you and they want to be your buddy in the off season. But so Volson, from everything I see and hear, the guy has the ability to play both sides, and I think he'd be okay moving inside.
It's also, I think, important to note he doesn't have to come in and be a starter right away. He doesn't have to even come in and be a contributor right away. He's going to have time to learn. This was a draft pick that's really meant to add depth and some versatility. In other words, he's a guy that'll dress, because if somebody goes down Maybe he could spell a number of different guys at different positions, but that first year is going to be critical for him to sit back, watch, and learn, because there are a lot of veterans now on the Bengals offensive line.
Well, now I was going to make that point exactly what you did, veterans, a chance for him to sit and watch, and not only watch these veterans, but to have a coach like Frank Pollock, an excellent technician, an excellent coach. You talk about Volson being nasty, a guy that, Frank will get in your face and he's got some intensity. So I think Volson is Frank's type of guy, because he does have that intensity. But that is so crucial for a young guy to be able to come in and watch and learn from the veterans, and to have a coach in the caliber of Frank Pollock to have, to be teaching him. So he's coming into a really good situation as a young lineman.
Well, Anthony, I've talked to, Andy Reid, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, who's a former offensive lineman himself. He really does pride himself in being able to grade and evaluate offensive linemen. I've talked to a number of coaches around the National Football League, and they say that offensive line position is just very difficult to find those players now in the college draft, because now colleges, they play football a little bit different than the NFL. They give us great pass protectors, right? Yeah. But not as much in the run game, not as much in terms of the nasty guys who are used to firing off. Wow. A lot of pass protection, a lot of guys who can set, but not a lot of guys who can fire off. Help us to understand that the way that the college game is played, it now gives us players on the offensive line that's a little bit different than maybe what it was 7, 10, even 15 years ago.
Well, I kind of talk about it, and growing up in LA as you did, we had Showtime, which was, fast break, run. Right. And a lot of offenses in college are doing 2-point stand with offense. They're passing it. They're, quick upbeat, until you look at, down in Tuscaloosa or up at Iowa, Wisconsin, or even Stanford. Those are the guys that, the pro style offense, they're being trained, not only if they want to be in enough stance, but when it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, these guys can get down to 3-point. They can knock you off. So I think, over the years, we've had a couple of very athletic guys that couldn't make that adjustment to getting down in the 3-point and getting after it when you have to. That's the thing. When you want to stay up as much as you want, kind of change it up. I think that was a thing we had a chance to do when I was playing, but we were in the 3-point, and when it was 3rd and 1 with the running game we had with James Brooks and Ickey Woods and, Pete Johnson early in my career, man, we would get off the football, and you have to be able to move. It's all about attitude. You talk about nastiness, but run blocking is about attitude, and that's what you have to have. So I think a lot of the college games are really, if they're, you don't want to blame them, but that's kind of what's happening with a lot of offensive linemen coming into the NFL. And they can kick and they can move backwards, but when they have to get in that 3-point and keep leverage with the nice uncoiling and stuff, that's tough for them to do.
So help us to understand that. Look, it's clear that for the offensive linemen, the Bengals have been looking for, it's really about one thing, mainly protecting Joe Burrow and keeping him upright. And so why it's all good to go out and find guys who are very good pass protectors, why is it also good to make sure, I know this is something the Bengals offensive line coach, Frank Pollock, really prides himself on, to also find the guys who can protect Joe Burrow, but can also be mean and nasty in the run game? Because at the end, when you look at all the teams who are playing in the playoffs, all the teams who are advancing in the postseason, they all still have the ability, yes, to protect their quarterback, but they also have the ability to run the football when they have to.
Well, you look at the Bengals. I mean, Chase, you have Higgins, you have Boyd, now you have Hurst, but you got Joe Mixon, and I think that's a key. You got to keep him in the football game, running the football as tough as he runs, as much enthusiasm as he brings that offense. That's why you need it. I mean, you can, and you're right. You bring up a great point, and I talk about that a lot when I talk about colleges that win national championships and teams that win Super Bowls. Man, they can throw for 4,000 or 5,000 yards, but they also can bust you in the mouth and move people out, and they have an excellent running game. So again, my day, our day, we had the run and shoot, and you had all, but they didn't win championships because they couldn't run the football, consistently. So that's why you have to run the football to keep guys like Joe Mixon in the game, man. You hate to waste a talent like that and expect him to catch a football all the time because you're throwing it all the time. Turn around, give it to him, and let the big guys move people out of the way.
Okay, look, free agency is over. The draft is over. So help Cincinnati Bengals fans feel really good about how we've improved this offensive line. We bring in Lyle Collins at the right tackle position. You got Alex Kappa at one guard. And then they also bring in Ted Karras, right? He comes from a family of football. His grandfather, his dad, his brothers, everybody is offensive linemen. They're all offensive linemen. And then obviously Jonah Williams, they just picked up his 5th-year option at the left tackle position. So help Cincinnati Bengals fans to feel good. What can we hang our hat on when it comes to this offensive line heading into the 2022 season?
Well, I guess my optimistic comes from Joe Burrow getting hit and sacked as many times, and now they bring in 3 excellent offensive linemen, and you still have the guys I talked about, Chase and Higgins and Boyd and, Mixon. So now with these big signings in free agency, at least my expectation is to see Joe sitting back there, not having to scramble and throw a touchdown pass just as he's going out of bounds and, making sure he's – that's what my optimistic attitude is all about. And that's what I want to say to the fans is, we thought it was exciting last year in that run. These guys, and I really believe they will just kind of shake that off, say, okay, we did what we did last year, but now we got to turn the volume up in preparation and get even better. And I believe these are the type of players that we have here in Cincinnati. And that's what I'm going to say to the fans. Come down, fill up the stadium fill it up like we did against the Raiders, that first playoff game. I hadn't felt that atmosphere there in years and years. And that's what I want to see every home game. And I think this football team is ready to move forward. And again, you see that the process that Zach is talking about continues to be in place. And I can't emphasize enough, fans, look at what they did early in free agency. They saw a weakness and they addressed it and then went into the draft. And I thought they had an excellent draft.
Okay, before I let you go, I got to ask you this question because I can't think of anyone better to ask than the great Anthony Munoz, who played in a lot of big-time games in Cincinnati. You were part of 2 teams that went to the Super Bowl, but you played in a lot of games. It was called the Battle of Ohio. We all know we played for the late great Paul Brown.
Right.
Started the Cleveland Browns. We played against the Marty Schottenheimer-led Cleveland Browns with Bernie Kosar and Kevin Mack and Ernest Byers, some great players. I believe the Battle of Ohio is back with, Deshaun Watson now going to Cleveland. We've got Joe Burrow. Kind of talk to us about what we could expect in the Battle of Ohio in this upcoming season.
I hate to kind of be redundant, but, the quarterback, that's the man. I mean, there's no question about Joe Burrow's the man. And that is the one position that really I was not crazy about and not overly excited about the Cleveland Browns. If Deshaun Watson can come in and be the quarterback he's capable of, they're back. I mean, I thought really their hindrance was, the mental approach of Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's talented, don't get me wrong. I don't know the young man, but that was the one area that I thought they were lacking in consistency. So now with just Deshaun Watson, because this is a talented football team up there, up in northern Ohio, up in that other part of the state.
That's right.
But I think it's going to be exciting when these 2 teams meet. Hey, we owe them. They beat us twice this last year. So that, when that game comes around, you mentioned Paul Brown. He was up there, the Brown family. I mean, Mike was still, he was around when they were up there. So it's interstate, man. It's same division, interstate. That's a big one. And the fact that they beat us twice last year, that should be in your call, man. You should be thinking about that week. And so I'm excited about this to see how they do with Deshaun Watson. And I agree. I think they're back.
Battle of Ohio, Bengals Brown, once again, a red letter game on the schedule. Anthony Munoz, Hall of Fame offensive tackle. Hey, thank you for taking the time to join us on the Believe in Bengals post-draft show. Anthony, wish you all the best. Thanks again, my friend.
Solly, anytime, man. You're the best. And I always love talking football and especially talking Bengals with you.
Love talking Bengals with you as well. All right, we're going to step aside. We come back. We're going to be joined by NFL media and draft analyst Bucky Brooks joining us right here on the Believe in Bengals post-draft show on Bally Sports Ohio.